Okay, so our discussion question for chapter 8. A teacher enters your principal's office. The teacher immediately starts to tell you everything you're doing wrong, including how you just disciplined the teacher's own child. Since this is not the first time this has happened, you decide to increase the teacher's responsibility by assigning extra duty activities in which the teacher is not comfortable with the intent of driving the teacher from your district. Discuss any ramifications that might arise out of your action and rewrite the scenario with a more appropriate solution. So when we talked about this scenario, it was pretty obvious to us right away that in this case, the administrator or the principal is not acting appropriately. It almost sounds emotional and professional. And I know being a teacher that has a student in schools, I already have kind of that rapport with our administrators. Sometimes when I walk in, I have to say, hey, I'm putting my parent hat on now. And that kind of defines that relationship as, hey, we're going to talk as parent administrator versus employee administrator, and kind of helps set the tone for that meeting.
Another thing that we talked about was the administration needs to set that expectation right away. So if you have any teacher, even if you have kids or not, you need to email and ask appropriately for a time to discuss a topic, because when we go in right when it happens, there's a lot of emotions, like Dennis said, that are arising. And so if we're able to, hey, tomorrow, or when do you have time to sit down and talk about this topic, or these are my concerns or my questions, then the principal or the administration has time to reflect on whatever's going on as well, to make sure they're also ready for that conversation than being bombarded with it. And just having the expectation, okay, you need to email me, we need to come up with the time, and I need to know if this is a teacher concern, if this is a parent concern, because like you said, Dennis, you need to either have your teacher hat or your parent hat on. You can't have them on at the same time because you're either a parent at that time or a teacher at that time.
Yeah, we also said to just, like hitting on those expectations, like Taylor had said multiple times a year, just making sure that people understand that too, in order for principals to best help with situations, or any admin for that matter, that you may, disagree with, or whatever the situation is, in order for any good response to come from that, or any good to fix the problem, the best way to go about it is to have that proper communication, which would be finding a time to meet and talking through scenarios in a calm, respectful environment too. And then just collaborating too with other administrators in your district. So letting them know kind of what's going on, superintendent or whatever that looks like, whoever you want to collaborate with, but just letting them know what's going on, just kind of getting a feel for what they think you could try or what you should maybe do in that situation, just so you have it's just more advice from other leaders too, that have maybe had that situation before, or whatever that looks like, so they can kind of help talk you through that.
Yep. And another way that you could use those other administrators as well, is having them be a mediator in the meeting. So if you're going in as a teacher or a parent, just having that superintendent or assistant principal come in and just kind of be that neutral party in the meeting can also make the meeting go a little smoother.
Yeah, and as soon as the teacher comes in and makes it clear that they're pretty upset, just validate how they're feeling, kind of try to relax the situation, and then calmly just tell them, I understand how you're feeling, but can we set up another time to have this meeting, because the expectations we set forth at the beginning of the school year and throughout the school year, so that then you can collaborate with those administrators and get a mediator and all that for the next time you meet with them.
I like that you said that, Adam, because when it hits you, it's not like you have time to prepare and think about it. It's in your face. And it sounds like this parent and teacher came in with a whole bunch of stuff. And so, like you said, de-escalating and taking a breath. And I think too, maybe taking a minute to break it down with them and to say, okay, let's talk about this one thing at a time. Let's, what's going on with your child and deal with that issue, and then move on to, if there's a teacher issues that need to be resolved also, but just breaking it down and taking it a block at a time. And with that, I think we talked earlier too about one of our responsibilities as administrators is to professionally develop our employees. And so, you guys mentioned setting expectations early and in the school year and reinforcing them throughout the school year about how a relationship should be carried out, a work relationship versus a parent relationship. And, you know, if this has happened, as this scenario says, if this has happened multiple times, then maybe this is a good opportunity as an administrator to do some one-on-one or with the, you know, a small group training to let's talk about communication skills and how we should build these work relationships, and then we can practice them. And that does you a couple things. Not only hopefully it helps the communication issue here, but on another level, if it does come to the point where this is a teacher who's going to be separated, if there's an appeal or something like that, and you haven't tried to help the situation, they're not going to, you know, you're going to get ruled against. If if you threw a whole bunch of extra duties at this teacher trying to drive them from the district, that's going to cause people to rule against you. So this administrator is not necessarily helping themselves out at all.
Right, yeah, and I think the ramification, like you said, was inappropriate. It must have been done in just the heat of the moment, like, okay, well, then you can have this, and this will kind of be your punishment. I would say the ramification would just be to talk to them. Hey, remember what we talked about, okay? This is gonna, and it can even be a verbal warning of, okay, this has happened before, okay? And I mean, we're kind of missing part of the story. Did the principal already have this conversation with the teacher that, hey, make sure that we have this conversation at a more appropriate time? If it didn't happen, then he needs to have that conversation now. And then if it happens again, it could be something like a verbal warning. And then if it continues to happen, then it needs to go into write-ups because the teacher's not being professional in their in the way that they're coming at the principal. And so if he's already set up those expectations, making sure that they are getting write-ups so they know that this isn't appropriate. But assigning the extra teacher duties 100% has nothing to do with this situation. He's just trying to get the teacher out of the district because I'm assuming that they're a problem.
Yeah, and that's definitely not getting to the root of the problem either. So, and more oftentimes than not, a lot of, you know, like with this situation in particular, I mean, this teacher could have been angry about something completely different. It just happened to come out that day with that certain situation. So typically there's more behind that emotion than just that one scenario. So getting to the root of the problem and having that rapport with your employees is very beneficial, because if they're more willing to come in and talk to you and say, you know, hey, this is going on, just so you're aware. So that relationship, admin teacher relationship is very important. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.